CzarThwomp here, and welcome to episode 17 of the Grey Ace Attorney Adventures. Last time, we did another deduction dance with Sherlock, and we discovered that Pavlova's friend basically was not a snake, but rather a cat, and that it had escaped into Kazuma's room, and now we're going to question her on it. Tell us exactly what happened last night.
It was a little after 1 in the morning. It was so late, but I hadn't the time to feed Darka, so I gave her some food. And then, all of a sudden, she scratched me and jumped out of my hands. People do say that cats become very anxious and nervous in new environments. She was so fast, she disappeared to the ventilator before I could stop her.
And that is how you acquired the rather nasty wound on the back of your hand, I take it.
Yes, and I had read the rules on the wall. I knew that I was not allowed Darka with me.
Does anyone else hear a weird sound? Is that the game? Okay, that's just a lawnmower outside my area. Okay, good. I'm not going crazy.
Yes, modern science suggests that animals can carry infectious disease. It's a precaution, really. So I listened and listened, trying to hear if there was some noise in the next cabin. It was very quiet. I was sure if someone was there, he must be sleeping. So at that point,
you thought it safe to try to lure the kitten back again by dangling the end of the toy through the ventilator into the adjoining cabin.
Darka always loved this toy, but it did not work. Nothing worked. I tried using her favorite toy. I tried whistling to her softly, but nothing. She didn't return.
So the faint whistling sound Kazuma wrote about in his diary was Miss Pavlova trying to retrieve her pet. Cats have a propensity to remain hidden in the shadows when frightened. What is happening with my home's voice? It's becoming scratchy.
Yes, so there was nothing else I could do. I just had to wait until she calmed down. But then... Darka killed a man! I nearly passed out with shock. I heard her cry out, and then... Oh, it was such a dreadful bang. Then afterwards, nothing. It was totally silent.
Kazuma was...
From the appearance of this brown mark on the floor, it seems likely what you heard was the victim stepping on the glass bed and tripping up. To think, I failed my job and I'm going to receive a pay cut because of a cat. Well, my life's over. Yes, Espoya is a large vessel, but even she can pitch and roll violently without warning. Mr. Asogi was already off balance as a result of the ship lurching when this kitten got under his feet. This combination with unfortunate factors could easily have caused him to fall over. But what became of the kitten afterwards? In the end, I managed to get her to come back through the ventilator.
Yet Darka is nowhere to be seen.
I must have forgotten to lock my case, and now she disappeared again.
Gracious! That cat is insufferably restless as I am! Well, he knows something about himself at least.
When I woke this morning, I heard that the young man in the cabin next to mine had died, but I couldn't bring myself to tell anyone what had happened. I was too scared. Scared that they would send me back.
Oh, hold on a minute. What about the snake?
You're right. Where is it?
If the snake isn't your friend, Miss Pavlova, then whose is it and where did it come from? What on earth is such a dangerous creature doing on this ship? Oh, I didn't say. Snake is my friend. His name is Pierozico.
What?
What?
That snake belongs to you?
He escaped from cage when the emergency alarm sounded. I was looking for him. but did not expect him to find him here. Yes, hide the snake in your cabin.
But animals are not permitted on board.
Ha! We are at sea for 1 year. You want to be so long with a close friend, without someone who understands, and we are not allowed nudie magazines. We have nothing in this place. What am I going to do to entertain myself? Think of curvy piece of driftwood we found off coast of Shanghai. Couldn't you find something a little more human who understands you better? The only thing close to human that understands me is snowman I once built when I was 5. It melted in sun. But my dear belly fellow. There we go, there's the Holmes voice. A gargantuan venomous steak? Surely you can appreciate the danger you're putting everyone else in. No venom. Pirozoko does not have venom. He is harmless, very long but very gentle. He is adorable, like Granny. He one time broke a child's neck, like Granny. Don't you piss off Granny or she'll break your neck too.
It's venomous?
Yes. Now he's hungry, so he's in bad mood. But once I feed him, you will see big smile. And you feed him what? Milk, I suppose? Ha! Like they say they milk chickens. Ridiculous! Snakes that drinks milk are only in stupid stories. Pirozoko eats mice. Big, fat, round mice. Ah, so, is that what the mousetrap in the passageway out there is for? Of course. Yeah, how else can I catch my friend's favorite food? That thing says top of the food chain like the look in their eyes right now. It refuses to drink milk, it can't hear a whistle, it can't climb up a bell cord, and it's not even venomous. How the deuce did something so inept land a starring role? It's not my fault. I did not make up story. My Pirozoko has nothing to do with this incident. So that's what happened. That's the truth behind my best friend's tragic death. He died because of a cat.
Miss Pavlova, darn it, CzarThwomp, you delayed. I understand the difficult situation you found yourself in, and I do sympathize. But please remember this. A young man lost his life. If you're going to attempt to cover up your guilt with lies, then do a better job at it. Then no matter the circumstances, I can't forgive you. I'm flipping you overboard. But what are you talking about, Miss Mikotoba? What lies? Miss Pavlova just confessed everything. You will not insult my queen. You will not insult my 15-year-old queen. That automatically makes this about 5 times creepier. It was just a series of unfortunate events. An accident. I'm no great detective like Mr. Sholmes. I don't have a gift for knowing the truth. I can't dance around while the voices, I don't have his 500 different personalities. But even I can see that was not the truth. Don't you agree, Mr. Naruto?
To be perfectly honest, yes. There's a discrepancy in Miss Pavlova's story, I'm sure of it. I just can't quite put my finger on it. I confess, I was intending to let Scotland Yard deal with any outstanding issues on this matter. Oh? I am only present here for a very specific reason. To spread chaos! The truth is you, Mr. Naruto, are simply a distraction. A distraction? I do hope you've not been finding your shackles too uncomfortable. Ah! Not again! When did he do that? Especially as they're on your wrists as a result of my intervention. I was rather hoping I could resolve matters before we made our next port call. You were Mr. Sholmes? Yes, but I overlooked one important detail. The deceased young man was a very close companion of yours. Was he not? Yes. Kazuma was my closest friend. I owed him my freedom even. In that case, we must follow this to its conclusion. No further distractions. You must uncover the real truth here, Mr. Naruto. Yes, whatever that may be. The key to this is the discrepancy in Miss Pavlova's story, I'm sure. If I can chase that down, maybe the truth will become clear. Sorry if there was a bit of an echo there. I was drinking my V8, my Akai mixed berry V8. It's quenchy. It quenches the thirst. The truth about how you really died. About how that scene in your cabin really came to be. Alright, I'll see what I can do. Excellent. Oh wait, who is reading that? Who is saying that? Okay, okay, that was a Naruto line. Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Naruto.
So then, shall we begin? Yes. What shall we ponder first? Is the victim who lost his life in a cabin that was bolted shut from the inside? Was this truly an unfortunate accident? Or was it in fact no accident at all? That is what we must establish in the first instance. But we've already established it. Haven't we? The man tripped over the kitten and climbed into his cabin via the ventilator. Tragic, yes. But an accident still. Hold it! What? Wait, let's just take a step back. It doesn't make sense if that's really what happened. Does it?
I'm going to have Tasker spell it out for me, I'm afraid.
Yes, it's starting to take shape now. There's a clear contradiction between the facts and Miss Pavlova's story here. The evidence is right here in Kazuma's cabin. It's undeniable. His death couldn't possibly have been a mere accident.
Really?
Let us show our hand, Mr. Naruto. Time to present the evidence. Thank you, they filled my meter up. The evidence that proves unequivocally that the victim's death was no mere accident. Okay, let me just search through. Okay. Okay, yeah, it's probably gonna be this.
Yes!
The truth is clearly recorded in this photographic print. There's no way that Mr. Asogi could... Yeah, I love how it's just Mr. Asogi now. It's not even Kazuma. It's just this Mr. Asogi. Asogi has lost prestige, has lost familiarity with his death. He is no longer a person in Ryuunosuke's eyes. He's just Mr. Asogi. There's no way that Mr. Asogi could have left this message on the floor.
That script. It's Russian, isn't it?
Indeed it is. The word written means wardrobe.
I see what you mean. Most people would leave a dying message in their native language. Japanese in this case. But maybe he was studying Russian. It is a simple language. He could have picked it up very fast.
That doesn't seem likely. That's actually not the point. It makes no difference whether he knew Russian or not.
Sorry, what do you mean?
Exactly what I said before. There is no way that Mr. Asogi could have left this message on the floor. And the reason why is clearly explained in here. Damage to the cervical vertebrae resulting in instant death. Instant death.
Ah!
Which means, after the victim fell to the floor, he couldn't possibly have written anything. Because he was already dead.
That's not the only reason either. There's something else we found in Mr. Asogi's cabin. A remnant of something that couldn't possibly have been there, if that what Miss Pavlova told us is true.
What? So, Susasan has noticed it too then? Putting this message on the floor aside, there's something else that gives the truth away. Another piece of evidence that proves that this was no accident. In other words... Okay.
Yes!
Yes, the bell. This piece of broken glass next to the floor.
But that's the glass bell the kitten had around its neck. We already know all about that.
Funny thing about my Hosonaga voice, oddly enough when I'm doing it, I'm doing the Christoph Glasses pose. I'm just tapping my middle finger to the bridge of my nose. It's weird.
It was broken in half when the victim tripped over the couch and fell. So we already have a satisfactory explanation. Where's the flaw in that logic?
Unfortunately, there is a very big flaw. A fatal flaw.
What?
If that's really what happened, then how did one half of the bell end up back here in this cabin?
Ah! Yes, remember that we found the other half of the glass bell in that waste paper basket. But you can't explain that, Miss Pavlova?
Oh no. Both these pieces of evidence clearly point to the same conclusion. Now, when Mr. Sogi died last night in his cabin, there was someone else in the room. And that same person deliberately arranged the scene to disguise the truth, in order to cover up his or her own guilt.
Yeah! Yes, there was someone else present in Mr. Asoki's...
You are wasting time! Someone else was there! Duh! Of course, we know this! What are you talking about? Bulkhead was bullshit shut from inside. There is no way in or out.
Oh, yes.
And only other person in cabin when the young student died was you!
Yes!
It's true, I was in the cabin when it happened. You were shot inside the cabin wardrobe, to be precise about the details. But I don't know Russian, there's no way I could have left that message. Not would have, there's no way you could have left that message, to be precise about the details. Would you mind? Forgive me, my dear fellow. As I was saying, the person in question wrote the word wardrobe in Russian on the floor, in an attempt to incriminate me for the crime, even though I had been asleep there for the entire time. And then that same person picked up the broken glass bell that had fallen on the floor for fear of it becoming evidence that would show how Mr. Sogi really died. But why wouldn't this person have taken all the pieces of the belt anyway? Leaving her behind was always going to raise questions. Yes, well, it was past 1 o'clock in the early hours of the morning. The cabin would have been quite dark. The single small lamp suspended on the ceiling would barely have cast any light onto the floor here. Little wonder then that the culprit failed to notice a fragment of a tiny item. You're all suspecting me, don't you? Now things get serious. Seaman Stroganoff. Nina is woman of sea. She is daughter of strong sailor. 2 years ago, they noticed her dancing skills and she went away to join ballet company. But before, she was dancer on the ship, a member of ship's band. You do not accuse ship's angel of being criminal. You do not insult my queen of being criminal. She's 15. I have no... Seaman Stroganoff oversees all comments. Ah, so that's it. You say that when young student died, Nina was there in his cabin. But that is not possible. I gave my tooth. Well, this is almost interesting. And why would you give your tooth, pray? How can you be so sure? You are a great detective. You should know. Look through the eye. Captain Bulkhead was bolted shut from inside. No one could go in the cabin. Not Nina. Not anyone. Or you want to tell me the killer can walk through locked doors? Yet, it's impossible. He's right.
But wait, I've read about this in detective stories. People often tie thread on door latches so they can open and close them from the outside.
Thread? Are you stupid? These bulkheads are not barn doors. Certainly not. These are watertight doors, as one would expect to find on any modern steamship. Constructed of heavy steel with not a gap in sight. No threads or needles or magnets could have been used.
No, of course not. I thought so too. But Mr. Naruto suggested it earlier, so I'm putting the blame on him.
Susanoo-san, how could you shift onto me like that?
Hey, survival of the fittest. Every man for himself. Every woman, legal assistant, every man, person for herself. I don't know.
So Seaman Stroganoff has a valid point. The cabin doors couldn't have been bolted shut from the outside. Not necessarily. What? I put it to you that I could bolt this cabin door without laying a finger on it. And in this very cabin, we can see the traces of the method I have in mind having been used before. I don't believe it. Well, Mr. Naruto, I believe you know what I mean, don't you? A way to shut the bolt on the cabin door from the outside. One way does spring to mind, yes.
Do you really know what Mr. Sholmes means, Mr. Naruto?
Yes, and so should you. Because we've seen it happen. Indeed we have. So, would you care to do the honors, Mr. Naruto? Point out the telling signs that this method was used to slide the cabin door shut from the outside.
Yes!
Look at the bookcase there. See how the books and things on it have toppled over?
That must have happened when the ship made its emergency stop before.
Yes, that's right. It's a very powerful vessel after all. When the engines are thrown into reverse, a violent jolt goes across the entire ship. Any small objects that aren't fastened down are bound to fall over.
I believe, yes, it's what's known as the force of inertia acting on the objects.
Is there nothing Susanoo-san doesn't know? Or that isn't in her book at least? Well, whatever it's called, the same force that pushed over those books on the bookcase also made something else in this cabin move. The bolt on the cabin door.
Ah!
It was very obvious just after the emergency stop that the ship made earlier. We had come into this cabin not for long before, and we hadn't bolted the door. But then...
Hello, is anyone in there? Shout if you need assistance.
Oh, that sounds like...
Inspector Hosonaga. Oh, yes. That's it. When the ship stopped suddenly, the bolt flew across and locked the door.
Yes, it's made of metal, but it's small and light enough to be moved by the ship's sudden change in speed. Or the force of inertia, if you want to call it that.
Are you trying to say that last night, after Mr. Sogi was killed?
Well, I'm pretty sure the corpse would have slid a little. Yeah, because really, yes, Asogi would have probably been, isn't the lightest object, being a human body, but the body would still have slid. It wasn't fastened down to anything. It wasn't against a wall. It would have just slid over.
Yes, this boy made another emergency stop.
When I woke up this morning and looked around the cabin, I thought it looked a little odd. All the books on the shelves had toppled over, and all the ornaments. It was almost as if someone had run their hands across the shelves and deliberately knocked everything over.
Oh yes, I remember that. And I stood them up again, didn't I?
Then when we came to this cabin, we were surprised to see the same thing in here. All the books and everything had toppled over, just like in Mr. Asogi's cabin.
Oh my!
Do you have anything to say about this, Mrs. Pavlova? Are you out of your mind? You say Boria made emergency stop?
It does seem a little far-fetched. How could that possibly have happened? Unless you're saying that the culprit is actually someone from the engine room.
Oh, it's not. It is simple enough. Are you forgetting the button in the passageway outside? Use to trigger the emergency alarm.
Oh yeah, of course! There was a notice, wasn't there, telling you only to press the button in times of emergency.
On dark nights when the fog is dense, the cabin cannot afford to rely on the eyes of this lookout alone. Hence the placement of a number of buttons around the vessel to allow any crewmen to raise the alarm. The sort of button one is almost compared to press it to satisfy one's curiosity. Wait, it was you? When the button is pressed, two things happen in the interests of safety. The emergency alarm bell rings and the vessel comes to a complete stop. As indeed it did a little earlier today.
Mr. Sholmes, surely it wasn't you who...
As I already said, a button has but one purpose in life. To be pressed! Whatever the occasion! Really, I was just having expected the Sherlock Holmes and stuff like that. Just because that's just like Holmes would do. Holmes would just push the big red shiny button and would just... You'd activate the self-destruct sequence in any sort of space. Ooh, what does this button do? Self-destruct sequence engaged. He sounds almost proud of himself. How dare you mess with ship! I report you to captain. You are in much trouble now. You go lie in ocean. You go drown in sea. I will throw you overboard. Now, I am sure we can all wait until later. Let us not overlook the fact that we now learned a valuable lesson. When the vessel makes an emergency stop, the bolts on the cabin doors slide closed. So, what we must now consider...
Yes, it almost comes down to one thing now. Last night, after what happened to Mr. Asogi, did this ship make an emergency stop, or did not?
You are idiots! Boreals use ship with many passengers. If we make emergency stop, even in the middle of night, there would be chaos everywhere. What are your thoughts, Mr. Naruto? Well, it's certainly possible that some kind of emergency happened last night. We have evidence to support that idea.
Really? What evidence, Mr. Naruto?
Fascinating! Do show us, my good man. What evidence proves the theory that some emergency gripped this vessel last night?
Yes!
Seaman Stroganoff, it's your duty to patrol the first-class area of the ship. Isn't that right? That is correct. Why? And the ship's log here. This would be where you would record details of your duties. What are you doing with that? That is mine! So you rather carelessly left it atop the little makeshift bureau in the passageway out there. But as responsible passengers, we took it into our care with a mind to return to you later. I left it there on purpose. That is where I always put it. The point is, looking at what you usually record, it's clear that under normal circumstances, you write the phrase, "nothing to report" every 30 minutes. Oh, I forgot to actually look at this. I thought we could actually see everything. I thought we could actually get a glance at the entire thing. Okay, yeah, nothing. But from 2 o'clock last night until first light this morning, nothing was recorded at all. Nothing recorded in the log. That is... duh! Because nothing happened. But if nothing happened, you would normally write nothing to report. You wouldn't you? Indeed so, which tells us that shortly after 2 a.m., something happened here aboard the SS Boria. Something sufficiently significant to make you forget to fill in the ship's log, in fact.
Are you suggesting that the ship really did make an emergency stop in the middle of the night?
Stop talking rubbish!
If I'm perfectly honest, I find that a little hard to believe myself.
Oh, why?
Well, because if something as major as an emergency stop really had happened, surely all of us would have noticed.
Unless you all got amnesia.
That's very true. Thanks to the emergency stop we experienced earlier, we all know what it feels like now. The ship lurched so violently, and the alarm bell was so loud. I can't imagine that anyone would sleep through that, even if it happened in the dead of night.
Well, no, that's a good point. What of the throbbing?
Sorry, what do you mean?
Your head, man. The throbbing of your head since this morning. We have all suffered with it.
Ah! Oh, yes. I have had this headache, you're right. In fact, I haven't been really feeling myself since I woke up today. Nor have I! My head's been feeling heavy ever since dawn.
Yes, you've all been afflicted, haven't you? Just as I suspected. He's right, my head's been throbbing today too. And since eating dinner yesterday evening, everything has felt sort of hazy. I can't really remember anything that happened after I climbed back inside the wardrobe. Then the first thing I noticed this morning was the throbbing pain in my head. I had already been dragged out of the wardrobe and had those handcuffs put on me by that point. Why didn't I wake up when all that was happening to me? Tell me, Mr. Naruto. You boarded this vessel as a stowaway, didn't you? Oh, well, yeah. Sorry. The stowaway class of accommodation doesn't usually include meals. What did you survive on? Ah, well, Kazuma looked after me. He was always happy to share his meals. So you enjoyed some of the whole roast chicken dish that was served yesterday evening, I take it? Yes, in fact, I had all of that. Kazuma wasn't fond of chicken. Oh, really? So the victim didn't eat any of the chicken at all? That's right, he didn't touch it. Is that relevant? My dear fellow, does that not strike you? I think that would be a good time to end things off. I really appreciate that you stuck around to watch this episode. You're a great viewer, and hope you go back to the next one. If you like the video, like, subscribe, comment, share, do whatever you want. But I'll see you next time. Bye.